Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This morning, it's not even morning. Today I am going to look into the case of the Harper Family Murders. It is pretty awful. It was the murder of 5 people. That was like 3 generations of this family as well. It's just awful. But let's jump in. The Harper family consisted of Joni Harper, her son Marquez, daughter Lindsay, and she had a newborn baby, Marshall. And her husband, well, on and off husband, was called Vincent. Vincent Brothers. Joni was a lovely woman. She was just such a loving mother to her children. She really enjoyed doing sports and things like that, and was a very devout lady too. She originally went to Bakersfield High School and she was a basketball star there. Like I said, she absolutely loved sports. She ended up working as a campus supervisor for the school city district in 94 and was responsible for safety and security. But she also worked with the students and community groups and things like that. She was just such a loving woman. And her mother, let me just say as well, was called Ernestine Harper. And she was actually one of the victims too, sadly. So let me take you to the 6th of July in 2003. The Harper family, Ernest was living with Joni at the time. Vincent was away. We'll get more into the background of her and Vincent's history, but he wasn't there at this time. But they had gone to church, like they always would. Like I said, they were devout. They would go all the time, and there was a morning session and an evening session, and they would attend both. So Joni just couldn't wait until her youngest, because he was a baby, was even old enough to get, to take him to church. So she went with her mother and the 3 kids to the morning session. They then went home, and when the evening session came on, they weren't there, which was odd, but also not entirely odd, because they were expected to be there. They were always there. However, I mean, she had 3 kids. She was living, her mum was helping out with the children, which is why she was living with them. But they just figured that, everything's fine. And they just decided that they was too tired, etc. They have a baby, like a 6-week-old baby, I believe, at that point. So, times are hard and they just couldn't make it back, which is fine, but a little bit odd. But then after this, no one heard from any of the family whatsoever. This was 2 days later, one of Joni's friends, who was actually classed as, well, they thought of each other as sisters because they were that good friends, decided to go down and check on the family because she hadn't heard of them and she was really worried. She goes inside the house and she finds a horrific scene. And it's just awful. Now, I did read as well that Joni had a brother, and the brother received this phone call, right? And he received it in 3 parts, okay? So, like, originally it was like, I don't know which way. I might get the order mixed up, but just bear with me. For example, he got called to say, like, Joni was killed. And he's, like, devastated. And then he's thinking, I hope the kids are okay. Then he gets another call to say that the kids have been murdered too. So then he's absolutely devastated again. And then he gets a 3rd call to say that not only is his sister and his nieces and nephews deceased, his mother too. So that's over 3 phone calls. I can't even imagine that. It's just awful. So back to the scene. I believe one of the side doors was actually left open, and that's how her friend got in and found the awful scene. Joni was laid face down on a bed. She had 3 gunshot wounds to her head and her arm. No, sorry, 3 gunshot wounds, like 1 in her head, 2 in her arm, I think. And when they turned her body over, they also found that she had been stabbed several times, which I believe at first they thought maybe it was a burglary, and it had ended horrifically. But when they found the stab wounds, they were thinking that this was more of a crime of passion rather than just a burglary. Next to Joni was Marshall. He was their 6-week-old baby, and that's all I'm going to say on that. Marquez was actually in the bed too. And he had... So this is a pretty gruesome fact, but I'm going to put it in anyway, because I'm going to share the horrificness of what's in my brain right now. So he had bitten down on his thumb that hard that it had gone through to his bone. And they think it's because he was in just so much fear of everything that was going on that he literally bit through his own thumb, which is just not even worth thinking about. But it's a part of this case, and so I shared it with you guys too. Lindsay, the daughter, was found at the foot of the bed, also been shot, and Ernestine was out on the corridor. She'd been shot 2 times. She was also found with a pistol. Seemed like she tried to defend everyone. However, I believe the pistol wouldn't fire, so they didn't have a chance, sadly. So the police, like I said, originally thinking maybe burglary, saw everything that had happened to Joni, and were thinking definitely not burglary, probably the husband, Vincent brother. So they start looking into him. That is, let me just tell you, everyone who watches true crime will know this already, that is the first port of call anyway. They always look at the immediate family for any of these crimes, because a lot of the time, sadly, it is them, especially spouses, husbands, things like that. So yeah, they began looking. I'm not saying it's always them, because it, you know, sometimes it's not, but a lot of the time it is. They began looking into him. So now I'm just going to tell you the history of the couple together, Vincent and Joni. He was born on the 31st of May. He actually married Joni in 2000, but just after a year they were married, it was literally annulled. They had a kid at that point as well, because basically Joni found out that Vincent was cheating on him. Yeah. So they annulled the marriage immediately, but Joni always said that she loved him and that Vincent was the love of her life. So they ended up gravitating back together again. I think because they had the first child together, she wanted him in her child's life, like, you know, and so the relationship picked up again after that. Then we're going to go to January 2003, and Joni and Vincent actually get married again, but this is like in secret this time. It didn't work out again. Months later, Vincent actually moved out. I think that's when probably Ernestine moved in, because they had 3 kids, you know, and she was doing it all on her own basically at this point because he'd gone. Now, he was actually vice president at a school. He also went to church himself. He was a well-respected man in the community. But when you looked into his history that not a lot of people knew about, they found that he'd been married about 4 times. He had spousal abuse in his history as well. And he ended up spending like some time in jail for that. I don't think it was long at all. Maybe like 6 days. I might be wrong with that. But yeah, he ended up spending some time in jail for that. So obviously he's looking like a good candidate, right? Like, you know, their marriage was never working. They'd been married twice and it was still not working. And so did he then murder his entire family? Who knows? He's got spousal abuse. Apparently friends have said that Joni had said on the second occasion that she was worried that Vincent actually might hurt her too. So they're looking into all this. But when they actually go and speak to Vincent, he has an alibi. He was in Columbus, Ohio at the time, which is many, many, many miles away. Because they were trying to figure out what was the next steps in their relationship, what they were going to do. They also got, like, they needed proof of his alibi, right? So he had a credit card receipt or whatever of him buying these items in this store that was all the way over there around about the time, you know. So he couldn't, basically, because he was so far away, if this was him but purchasing these items in the store, he couldn't have then made it back to kill Joni, is what I'm trying to tell you here. So, okay, cool, he's got an alibi, he's not done it. All right then, so they start looking elsewhere, but still kind of looking into Vincent. Eventually, they get CCTV footage of the store that he said that he was purchasing stuff in, that his credit card actually did buy stuff in. But it wasn't Vincent in the queue, let me tell you, it was his brother. So they went and spoke to his brother, who denied using his card at all. Eventually, he did say that he did it. I believe eventually, like, ages away, because at first he's like, that's not me. That's not me and that hat and whatever else. It's Vincent. It must be. But, you know, it was looking worse and worse for Vincent at this point, because they all also found that he hired a car around the area. And this car had clocked up a lot of mileage. Not just driving around the town of Ohio, Columbia, whatever the hell I said before, I can't remember. Not just that. The kind of mileage that would take you to drive all the way down to where Joni was, murder the entire family, and then drive all the way back kind of mileage. So yeah, not good. But it was actually put forward that sometimes in a hire car, these are not input into the computer accurately, which I think is a load of bull. Maybe by a little bit, a tiny margin, but not a margin of that many miles. Personally, this is my personal opinion, obviously. His brother also said that he was with Vincent. I don't know if he had two brothers. He might have had two brothers. One of them said he was with Vincent, but then he was the one who was found at the credit store. So then he was like, so you wasn't with Vincent? And then he's like, no, but the other brother was with Vincent. So yeah, everything was just falling apart around his alibi, and they just took that down piece by piece. So he went to trial. And with all of this evidence against him, I'm pretty sure he pled not guilty, to be honest. But the jury deliberated on it all. And on the 15th of May 2007, they found Vincent Brothers guilty of the murder of his entire family. 5 counts of first-degree murder. He got the death sentence. And I believe that still hasn't been carried out. I believe he's still waiting on death row for, I don't know what's going on with these death sentences. Sometimes they abolish it and then it never happens, or sometimes they're just waiting forever. I don't know, but I believe it's not been carried out as of yet. Whether it will do eventually, I don't know. Oh, I forgot to mention, in the trial as well, the car that you used, the radiator from the car, they actually had lots of bugs. Like, you know, when you're driving and bugs splatter into your car, which is gross, but it happens. They had loads of bugs in this radiator, right? So they went to specialists to say, is it possible to determine whether these bugs were from a certain area, okay? And they said, well, yeah. So they looked into all the bugs and they determined a lot of them from certain areas, but some of them bugs on that car were from the area that Joni was in. So that was kind of the nail in the coffin too. I completely forgot about that, so sorry. But yeah, this case is awful. Like, Vincent killed his mother-in-law, his wife, his 3 children, one of them being a 6-week-old at the time. For what? Please tell me. Please tell me why you did that, Vincent, because I will never know. And I guess not will a lot of other people. It is absolutely heartbreaking. They were such lovely, kind, caring people, and he just took everything away. And he destroyed an entire 3 generations of a family. Just, I don't know why. But there you go. Who knows the why in a lot of these cases. That is the end of this video, though. If you have enjoyed anything in this, you know, give a thumbs up. If you want to, subscribe. If not, don't. It's completely up to you. But yeah, that is the end of the Harper Family Murders. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.